All right. So I know I'm doing a lot of freelancing here, so I hope you guys are okay. But I'm circling back around, so you're used to this kind of stuff. All right. So we talked about how to get it into feather. Which knob is that? Still the blue one. You just go more. All the way forward is high RPM, low pitch. The first stop is low RPM, high pitch, go past the stop, past the gate. You got feather position. All right, and the engine should
Lower RPM.
yeah, feather, all the way high pitch, all the way low RPM, all the way to 0. So the engine shuts down. So we're out there doing some training. We're not. Oh, by the way, I saw a joke. It's not very funny, and it's not a joke. If a pilot makes a mistake, the pilot dies. But if a mechanic makes a mistake, the pilot dies. Because it's true. So be careful. So, all right. So pilot's out there doing his training thing, and in their twin. So they reach over, and, you know, by the way, I think this is an appropriate time for the story. It's real easy to poke fun at pilots doing stupid things. That's why I love when that podcast from AOPA, Richard McSpadden, always says, yeah, it's real easy to sit here and point fingers when you're at 0 knots and 1G, and it really is. When you're in the cockpit, it's a whole different thing. So I'd say as mechanics, takeaway, I would not make fun of dumb pilots. It can be taxing up there. Anyway, to that point, I went to citation school in SimuFlight, which was really cool because they have all of the gigantic $1 million full simulators. And these are not simulators where you get inside and go, what should we make this? They are specific. So I was on citations. You walk into one and it is a Citation 5. It is a Citation instrument panel, hard, it doesn't change. That's what it is. To the point where even we talked about some interlock system, and the instructor's like, okay, so reach under the panel and feel back here. You feel that? Okay, now if you pull that back, you can change the interlock to this. It's real parts what they make this out of. So it is every bit real. And so we were in the simulator because part of it was teaching us how to run and start these turbines, it was kind of difficult because it wasn't just you start it. You had to start it like a mechanic. And it goes through a whole sequence and lights are going, and I couldn't do it now, but you had to be able to point to which light was going to come on next, and it happens about that fast. So you're like, that's going to happen, that's going to happen, that's going to happen, that's going to. So anyway, so we did all that, and then we ran through a simulated fire on the ground. And because as a mechanic, you perceived you could be running in an aircraft and you could have an engine fire, and you have to deal with it. So I was like second or third to go. And we all get to sit there and watch and learn from everybody, which is cool. So the first guy, and I think I was the only pilot, which gave me a little bit of an advantage. But, so, the first guy just bombed it. I mean, couldn't do anything right, missed the whole thing. He's like, okay, next guy. He did a little bit better. And I'm like, I practice this. I know what to do. I'm ready to go. I'm going to do it. Puts me in the seat. I mean, it was absolute textbook. And the guy looks, he goes, that was perfect. You made only one mistake. You shut down and pull the fire bottle on a good engine. So you hear pilots doing that a lot. It's a problem. When they lose an engine, they shut the wrong one down. So I'm here to say that I was in a simulator under no stress. It was not a pass or fail. It was all, just having some fun, just training. So I knew what was about to happen, and I still shut down the wrong engine and pulled the fire bottle on the wrong engine. So it is so easy to do. So anyway, and I bring that up because, I'm talking about pilots, they're training, they're going to put the engine away. It is a big deal that pilots often shut down the good engine, and that's a bad thing. But so my point is, don't make fun of them because it's easy to do. Anyway, so pilot reaches over, pulls the engine all the way back, goes into feather, mixture off, mag off on that engine. That engine is now put away, it's feathered, blades are just into the wind. It's not moving. Count the bugs on it. That one over there, it's moving just fine. All right. So they do the training and said, all right, it's time to turn this thing back on. How does a pilot turn it back on?
Puts the prop control all the way forward and turns on the cranks to start.
All right. So, well, yes. So though, we got to talk about it. There's two different systems, right? Discounting the Hamilton standard air screw, hydromatic air screw. There'll be two systems. There's a system, it's a with and a without. What are we with and withouting? It's always going to have counterweights. With or without an accumulator. Remember the accumulator? What's the accumulator going to do? So the accumulator, if you remember, it's a charge of oil. So while this governor's been going and pumping high pressure oil, it's filled up either this ball accumulator, this one over here with the spring air charge, and it's going to charge up that accumulator with the high pressure oil coming in off the governor, and it's just going to keep it. It's open to the system until the pilot goes into feather. When the pilot goes into feather, there's going to be a rod that's going to drop. Next slide. There we go. So here we are, normal position, right? This is just going to suck off some high pressure. It's going to go in here and fill this up, move it all the way forward. It's coming off the governor right here, going past this check ball, down, around. It's free to go the other way, but it doesn't need to. It's high pressure. It's going to fill this up. This side over here is full of big spring or air. And when the pilot goes to feather, it releases this check ball right there. So now that ball comes up on its seat, blocks this up, and now we got high pressure air on this side and high pressure oil on this side just standing by, right? Going to do something. So as a pilot, when they bring it out of feather, this thing rolls back around, pushes on this, all that high pressure oil runs through here and goes to the prop. Whoosh. Well, it's this way, and it's just going to start to go. And as it starts to do that, it's going to start windmilling. So the pilot's going to do what? I'd go mags to both. Mixture, start bringing up the mixture. It'll go. Start going on its own. Start going on its own. All right. What if I'm the mechanic on the ground and I've done this? There's accumulator. Yeah. You're running it, doing a ground run.
You need to simulate the windmill.
You got to simulate the windmilling. Everything's going to be the same. So I'm a mechanic. I'm on the ground. Part of my check is I want to make sure it feathers and the accumulator's working.
Roll out the giant fan and you set it.
Got a push start. A big fan. Faster. You take another airplane and just kind of drop. Yeah, these are all good ideas. We're brainstorming now. We're getting it going here. Okay, so the pilot on the ground. We have an accumulator, right? So I'm running it. The accumulator is being charged because it's always going to do that because we're running it. I'm going to feather it. So I can't go too slow. What happens if I go too slow and then go to feather?
Yeah.
Anti-feather locks
The
go into play.
latches.
Latches are engaged. So you go down to idle, go to feather. Hey, it's not feathering. Well, you got to go out of feather, bring it up. So we'll take it up to, let's say, 1200 RPM. Reach over. Pull the prop all the way back into feather. Kill the engine at the same time so it's not trying to run. And it's going to go into feather. Hey, it feathered. Look at that. All right, let's go out of feather. So take it out of feather, go forward. Accumulator's going to unlock, and you should see the prop go. Psh. Now what? Now you got to hit starter.
Kevin?
Yeah.
So the accumulator is it's not a separate switch. It's automatically linked to your prop control?
Yeah, see, right, just like this right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not a separate switch at all. It's got to be automatic. If I don't have an accumulator, we're in the air now. No accumulator on this one. You got it feathered. You want to restart it. What do? Take it out of feather. So you go from feather all the way forward into high RPM, and the prop does what? It sits there. What do you want?
I want to start.
Then I want to put the mixture forward, right, left, both, start it. You got to do an air start, and it's not going to be happy, and it's going to start going around, and as it starts going around, the starter's working it. Starter is going to be causing the oil pump gears to work in the back of the engine. It's going to send oil up to the governor. The governor is going to say that, wow, man, we are seriously under speed, right? Because it's not moving at all. And so we got to flatten out, so it'll start sending high pressure oil up there. It'll start to move, and then when it catches, it'll start windmilling, and you can let off the starter. That'd be important to let off the starter at that point. Same thing if you're on the ground. You feather it. Now you got to start it and feather, and it's not going to like it. And starting fuel-injected engines it's a bit of a knack. So, all right. So that's feather, unfeather. Sounds good. All right. I think one of the last things I have on my notes here, that was quick, and I went into great detail on PT6s and how they work because they're so very different. And then I realized it's very likely and highly, if you're going to be a general aviation or even have your A&P and you're, I'm never going to work on these things and you're going to go to United, you'll eventually have a buddy who's like, hey man, you have your A&P, can you come work on my airplane? Because I don't, for free. Give you a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah.
And then you work on it. So it's possible. It is possible you're going to end up working with a Macaulay and a Hartzell and this all. The chances of your buddy calling you up and going, I got a King Air, and I'm trying to save a buck over here. Can you come work on my PT6 and my propeller? It's probably not going to happen. My guess is that if you have a King Air, or something with a PT6 on it, you're not looking for the cheapie on that. Oh, I could be wrong. So, in order to get into the PT6, we got to talk about the condition levers, and they're very different. And so I thought, I'm not going to overload you with that stuff, but I will throw out some things at you that they're just so incredibly different. And then if there's something on the test, I will say, oh, that's on the test, because I think there's one of the questions I put on the test.
What reciprocating engine uses the Hartzell steel heart? What aircraft?
Some of the older twins. I don't know offhand. All right. Weird thing about getting pictures off the internet anymore is that a lot of times you look at them and you use them for a couple years and you go, that's Microsoft exploit or Microsoft or something. It's like, it's not even a real plane. And not just to say PT6s, but any turboprop type aircraft that's going to be using the Hartzell steel hub, they're just different. And you can just look at the controls right here. You don't have a mixture over here. You have a condition lever. And we have throttles and we still have the prop controls, but it's very different. The way you operate them is different. And I don't want to get all bogged down to that. I'm not a pilot that flies these things enough to be speaking with great authority on them. But I will tell you some of this stuff. Let me see. I wrote a lot of notes here. And these aren't even applicable to all these, but see, the turboprop has 3 levers, the throttle/power, which controls engine power through the full range from takeoff power back through idle to full reverse, which makes sense. Oh, I forgot about that. To full reverse. There's something I'm going to talk about. So we have the prop. Guess what this is right back here? Right there. What is that?
Reverse.
No. That is your feather. How do you get a prop into feather? Prop. You pull it all the way back to feather. I thought we just went over this. All right. But these airplanes have reverse. So how do we go into reverse? You pull the throttles backwards. So the throttle is going to have a right there, detent. So we go all the way forward to full power, all the way back to the detent, which would be idle. Now, if we go past idle, you're going to increase RPM the further back you go. And what that's going to do, it's going to flatten out the blades and go backwards. So they're now pushing forward. So we call that beta range. I'll write that down. Beta range. Beta range is from 0 pitch backwards. Yeah. So the lever, power lever, also selects prop pitch when in the beta range. So the further back I go, the more pitch and more power I'm going to get out of it. It's going to increase power, increase pitch. So in beta range, the power levers control both pitch and power. In beta range, the power lever controls both pitch and power. Beta is from 0 to reverse pitch.
So how's that related to light idle versus ground idle?
Okay, that's the far right lever over here. So that's our condition. So our condition lever will do fuel cutoff, low idle, and high idle. So don't think of it as a mixture. It's just kind of think of it as 3 position. Fuel cutoff, low idle, high idle. So you'd want, and again, disclaimer, I'm not the authority on this particular type of aircraft. So if I say something that's wrong, sorry about that. If you're going to run a heavy load on your engines, air packs, things like that, you're going to run it high idle. If you need your governor running, you're using a lot of loads, high idle. If not, low idle. I was talking to one guy, he said, man, they always use high idle. They just don't even go low idle once they get it going. So, all right. Low idle, I have 51 to 65% N1. High idle is 65% N1 and up. High idle for flight, obviously. Then we got the prop control lever, the middle one. So we're good. We got the throttles. All the way forward is right here in the middle is where it says idle. That'd be idle. Behind that, beta range, which controls both power and pitch. Why do we have beta range? What's that all about?
Slow down on landing.
Slow down on landing. Save the brakes. All right.
This is taxiway.
Clear the taxiway?
If you miss the taxiway.
Miss the taxiway. Yeah, you can back up a little bit. Put it in the hangar when your buddy's on around.
Well, that's what the P3 Orions do. They can go backwards.
Well, anything with a beta can go backwards, right?
The Kingers can't. They don't produce enough power.
Oh, really? I thought I saw them do that with their one over here. Maybe I was wrong.
I think the OV10s can. I don't know that the Kingers produce enough power to go backwards.
That would be surprising. You'd think if it's enough power to slow it down, it's got to be enough to move it back even slowly.
I think the hard part is because you stop and then shift. If you're not landing, you stop it and then shift into going backwards. It can't produce enough to get that initial roll to overcome the friction.
Okay. Let's see. Prop control lever. Min, max, and the minimum, maximum, and feather. Max RPM, forward. Minimum RPM, back. Feather, all the way back. Back even further. All right, you don't have to write this, but max positions used when high RPM is desired governs a prop at 2,000 RPM. Min will go to 1,600. Feather is used for normal engine shutdown. Oh yeah, the feather is also used for engine shutdown. So we don't shut down piston engines with feather, but they do shut them down with on these turboprops. Why would they feather them? On shutdown.
It's a free turbine. If you don't, it'll just keep going.
Just keeps going. And what's the problem with that?
Oil supply.
Oil supply. You've shut down your oil pump. and now you got these things spinning at 1,600, 2,000 RPM. That's not a good idea. So they shut them down, feather it, shut down.
Yeah, it's weird standing where you can see it, where you can see them turn.
Oh,
upside
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
That's a weird sensation.
They take it as a story, but I don't know if this is true. But I've often thought, could you hang on to a prop blade on a PT6 or something? Because it is a free turbine and it starts. I mean, what would that feel like? Could you do it?
You can.
I've heard you could do it.
But I heard these. I asked somebody, and they told me it was like they watched two guys do it. So one guy took one blade, and they took the other one, and they started it. You know, this engine's starting to scream up, and they're just, I can't hold it anymore. Me neither, man. Jumping on the count of 3, we're gonna jump out of the way. You know, they're just fighting it. You know, their faces turning red. 1, 2, 3, and they both jump, and the prop starts to roll. It was just those two fighting each other the whole time. Well, okay. Let me see. Feather position, yeah. Now, at one point, I had said that the feather position was actually locked out by a squat switch, so you couldn't actually go into feather unless you were on the ground, and there was weight on the wheels, and I crossed it off because, I don't know, I'd heard about some planes where you could do it for very rapid descents. I don't know about that. All right, let me see. Operating principle. It's the same thing for all other governors. On speed, over speed, on speed, under speed. On, under, over, whatever. Same thing. Got a governor. It's got to do the same thing. If you're over speeding, what's it going to do?
Slow it down.
Slow it down. If you're under speed, it's going to speed up. If you're on speed, it's going to hold it there. Okay. Same thing. Yeah, spring loaded and counterweighted to which position? The prop. Be spring loaded and counterweighted to feather. Should we lose oil pressure? We have the King Air operates in 2 modes. The constant speed, and the ground fine beta, which I already said. However, there is a second overspeed governor in parallel. So now we have how many governors? 2 in parallel to take over if the primary governor fails to keep the RPM under 2,000. Why? Because it's $1 million engine.
At least.
That's used on eBay.
Yeah.
A good deal. Do you know what they cost?
I can come back to you with that because
I don't
he's
wanna-
coming out on Wednesday.
Whatever it is, I'm short. So
Yeah.
by
A million.
at least $1 million.
Yeah.
Couple
Alright.
of zeros.
Yes.
Start a GoFundMe.
Yeah. I wouldn't know it. I just bought a PT6. I should know this.
That's true, you did.
Yeah, but I only paid $100,000 for it. It's not mine. It belongs to all of us. Okay. So where was I? Oh yes. Fails to if it's preset at 2,120, which I think is like 106%. I crossed it out, wrote 100. I don't think that's right. Anyway, so you have an overspeed governor. So should for some reason the primary governor fail to do its job, you have another one in parallel that's watching all the time, making sure that it's doing its job. I want that job because you just got to stand there. You don't have to do anything. No, I'd hate that. That would drive me nuts. I want to be the first one. And I like that. And you watch me. Yeah. So, yeah, I got to keep it honest. So if that first one fails, then the second one takes over. But now you got to work. What if they both fail?
You got a third one.
Well, you got a third one.
Oh shit.
So you have a third one that would take over if those two fail, but that one also takes care of the beta range, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that one takes care of the beta range.
Yeah, I think it's a primary, power turbine, and I can't remember what they call the third one.
So why don't you teach this for me? All right, beta operation. Beta valve plunger is operated by reversing linkage. Oh yeah, I got a really, some really good training videos, and I was watching how to set up the beta range. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. And like an hour into it, I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. You guys will shoot me. Because it is really intense to set these up, because you also have feedback linkages and all kinds of stuff going on. It is a very complicated system that is well beyond the beginning A&P position. You would want to have very specific training, and you would not want to do this all by yourself the first time.
Yeah, it was like
It's what?
a week and a half.
Just to work on the beta,
Good. Well, it's
the beta
the
blocks
whole-
and the.
It's the whole King Air, but the maintenance program,
Oh, that's just like a Gen Fam class, a week and a half, right?
yeah.
Yeah, but that just is an overview. You still don't know what the hell you're doing at that point. Hell, I did a Gen Fam class on a 747s, and I was like, yeah, I got out. I mean, I knew a lot of new stuff, but it was like, well, you were in no position to start trimming the engines on it. So, okay.
Maybe overthinking this. Would you ever have a situation where you had to do a 180-degree turn on a narrow runway, where you use a positive thrust on one side and
Oh, hell
a
yeah.
negative on another?
I do all the time with the 310.
Okay.
When I'm out there taxiing the 310, or anytime I had to taxi a twin, I don't
You
know.
have a negative thrust
I didn't
on
think
one
about
side
that. Maybe
and a
it's
positive
just
on the
because
other?
of boat driving. I guess I never driven a boat with twin engines that I remember. But yeah, I split I do it. Yeah. I don't know if I was just being cool or if that's what you're supposed to do, but that's why I do it. So absolutely, turns real nice that way.
Easy on brakes too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, if you guys don't know, because the brakes on an airplane, they're tow operated. And I can tell this because when I take you guys to simulator, I'm trying to tell you where the brakes are. Like, they're what? So we have rudder pedals. And when the rudder pedals go like this, you operate the rudders. You go like this, it's the brakes. You have right brake, left brake. They're independent brakes. So when you have to make a very sharp turn, when you have to make a not so sharp turn, you just press on the rudder and the plane will go that way. If you have to make it sharper, you hit that brake and lock this wheel and you go even sharper. If you're in a twin, you just give a little more power to that engine out there and it'll bring her around. In fact, I've heard many, many stories of pilots who have landed single engine, and it's like, well, how'd it go? My training kicked in. I put the engine away. I feathered it. I followed the book. I came in, a perfect landing, and that's when my problem started. Got it to a nice safe stop. Oh man, that's great. Now I got to get to the FBO. This engine's out. They can't make a left turn. There's too much thrust on this end to go left. They have to go right to go left. And it was like it was absolutely impossible to taxi this thing once you lost an engine.
270.
Yeah. Yeah, so that makes it real hard. All right, so I have this is actually a really good video. And yeah, here's the PT6. It's in your book, obviously, because that's where I got that from. Pitch change mechanism. Yeah, so I was into it. So PT6, Hartzell, counterweighted, oil pressure, centrifugal and spring pressure, everything else. What's different about the PT6? How many governors does it have? Yeah, I think we're good. All right, so this video is old. The thing that I kind of like about it is I found out that this guy right here is not an actor. He's actually a real live Hartzell employee. They were going to shoot the video, and they were looking for somebody to do it. And he goes, I'll do it. And to me, that's kind of cool. So if he was an actor, maybe we'd make fun of him, but he's not. He's just one of us trying to do the right thing. And there's cool music. So, oops, wait a minute. I have to stop the recording so YouTube doesn't get mad.